got an email from a constituent.
He's going to give us the high side, doesn't he? Mike's going to give us the high side.
All right, I'm going to call the Planning Commission meeting to order, and I'll ask you all to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Sally, if you could help me with the roll call, please.
Certainly. Mayor Kent Atwell.
Present.
Alderperson Tim Eicher.
Here.
Dave Greenway.
Here.
Dan Jashinsky.
Here.
Ed Merrick.
Here.
Jim Ryer.
Here.
Laura Schultz. Here. Bob Weiler.
Here.
And we also have Planner Roger Dupler and Building Inspector Scott Hussinger with us. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, no public hearings, so item number 1, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Are there any citizens' comments pertaining to just the consent agenda? Just the consent agenda. Seeing none, citizens' comments on the consent agenda are now closed. Is there a motion to approve 3A, B, and C on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Everyone on the consent agenda is free to go.
Thank you.
All right, item number 4, City of Delafield citizens' comments pertaining to items on or off the agenda. This is the opportunity to come up and speak about anything that might be on your mind with regard to the Planning Commission. Are there any comments? Seeing none, citizens' comments are now closed. Okay, item number 5, unfinished business. Items recommended for discussion and possible action. DLC 0807.978.010, 400 Austin Circle, Delafield, owner applicant, Purple Dog Real Estate Investment. Applicant seeks approval of certified survey map to consolidate 2 existing parcels and recommend to the Common Council of the same. Is the applicant here? Don't see the applicant.
I'm here
The
in the
applicant was
past.
well aware.
Applicant was well aware.
And he's come in the past.
He has come in the past, but he's also, I'm sure, expecting that this is such a minor issue that there would be no, I would assume that there would be no questions. This is in regards to the consolidation of 2 lots. This is the second time that we've had it before us. Surveyor has reviewed it and had no comments. If you were to take action this evening, it is to recommend this certified survey map to Common Council.
Didn't we approve in the past this concept, knowing that there'd be a shared? Is there a shared drive, or is there some? I forget, what's the?
There is an easement across this lot to service the design mart, and that's staying in place.
And why were we not able to act on it before?
The surveyor advised that with the consolidation that they didn't want to spend the time and the applicant's money to review it twice. They recommended we go straight to council. But then by recommendation of the administrator, we brought it back for your action.
All right. Well, despite them not being here, I know we usually do, but this has been before us several times, so I'm good with approving this. The consolidation of the parcels and recommending the Common Council.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Okay, we'll move on to 6 new business items recommended for discussion and possible action. A, DLC 0780.021, 4303 N2652 Maple Avenue, Delafield, owner applicant, Mark Constance. Remshak, applicant seeks approval of extraterritorial certified survey map to consolidate 2 existing lots into 1 parcel and recommend to Common Council of the same.
Oh, no.
Is this applicant here? Yes. Great. Would you come on up to the front, please? And if you'd share your name and address, we'd appreciate it.
Sure. Name is Mark Remshak, R-E-M-S-H-A-K. Address is West 303 North 2652 Maple Avenue, Pewaukee, Wisconsin, 53072.
Okay, Roger, want to give us an overview?
Sure. This is an extraterritorial review. It's the city's obligation to review any extraterritorial modifications to make sure that they conform to our zoning districts in case we were ever to grow to be that size. This lot falls within our extraterritorial area, and with the consolidation of these two lots, it will not only alleviate a historic nonconformity, but the resulting lot will be consistent with our lake residential districts. Recommend approval and recommend this common council. Again, surveyor had no comments on this one either.
I'll make a motion to approve the certified survey map for DELT 0780021 and recommend to council of the same.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Passes. They call that easy.
Good luck.
Okay. This will be on the council agenda January 20th.
Okay, 6C, DLC 0748-998002, 2565 Genesee Street, Delafield, owner St. Michael's.
You're skipping
Oh,
D.
I skipped one, sorry. DLC 0804982.001, 2998 Golf Court, Delafield, owner De La Soda, applicant. Innovative Signs Incorporated, applicant seeks approval of multi-tenant sign program for the new commercial building. If you'd share your name and address, please.
Brad Hubbard, 711 Quinlan Drive, Pewaukee, 53072.
Great, thanks. Roger?
Sure. This petition this evening is to consider and approve a multiple tenant sign program. This information was provided to you, and then the design also evolved after the packet was put together. The total amount of square footage on this building for signage is attributable to 32 square feet per sign. They have 8 signs proposed on the building. The information that was presented for the packet did not actually have the dimensions on the sign, but rather was presented as a conceptual presentation. This is actually a remainder of signage, given the fact that this is a site combining both the Chick-fil-A and the multi-tenant building. In calculating the amount of area, I just want to point this out. This is the parcel here that contains both the Chick-fil-A and the multi-tenant building. They are afforded signage based on the amount of frontage or the amount of length of right-of-way. You can see that that lot has a lot of right-of-way on Highway 94, a lot on Highway 83, and a little bit on Golf Court. In total, they're afforded 476 square feet of signage for this lot. There's already been 221 square feet applied to the Chick-fil-A building, which leaves a balance of 225 square feet. They have 8 signs. Those signs are pretty much 32 square feet apiece is what they are allowed. Now, I asked them for revised documents for this evening's consideration. Rather than producing an illustration, they produced and provided to us written descriptions of their sign program that conform to all of these requirements, but then also goes on to address signage, location on the building, colors, all the stuff that we normally expect for a multi-tenant building. I find that all will be in conformance with our expectations and the signage that's already in place on the Century building. They're on the Century shopping center that's across the street as well.
I have one question.
Sure.
These signs are only for what's going to be on the building, right?
Yes.
Is that include that big sign that you used to have where you had all the businesses listed on it? The great big one?
The great big one that,
Yeah.
that exists out there,
Yeah.
those are already approved, and they're not approved to illustrate any tenant signage for this building. But even so, that's an issue between the tenant and their landlord that actually controls those multiple tenant monument signs. And if they wanted to utilize any of those, it would just be a matter of replacing a panel, which they have not applied for that, but if they did, they'd have to come to this body to get the panel approved.
So that doesn't include the square footage allowed? That's separate, they're two separate entities then?
Yes, that's
Okay.
separate.
right.
That was approved as part of the grand plan development way back in the 90s.
Okay.
Reading into the packet, it looks like there's two businesses that are defined. Is that correct, or am I?
We do not have any
Yeah, I don't have
official
any
applications.
Oh, we don't, okay.
So there are no tenants right now.
Okay.
They are anxiously awaiting your decision this evening, and you can expect to see them at the January meeting.
Could this change, though, if they get a tenant that wants half of the building?
They could, but only with our consent.
Yeah, okay.
So we're basically just approving the area, not the signs themselves. When the signs themselves, they'll have to come back for that, right?
Correct.
So
So
the
this is
picture, go ahead.
This is a master sign program for this particular building. As far as what the signs are gonna say, I mean, like he just said, you could have to go back and say, okay, Mr. Weller's business goes here, and but these are the guidelines that they would have to follow.
In looking at the square footage on here, the packet didn't actually say the square footage per sign.
Correct.
I didn't see that.
You're right.
So what you're looking at though is saying what's allowable, what's remaining allowable divided by 8. In reading through the municipal code, correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't it state that signage size is based on square footage of the occupant area?
It is, if we have a petition for a single user within a multiple tenant building, then we have those guidelines to follow. We afford the opportunity to the landlord to create this type of predetermined sign program, so as to alleviate us of the responsibility of having to interpret signage for each and every tenant that may subsequently apply.
So we do have that flexibility?
Right.
Okay, just wanted to make sure on that.
And the signage for the other tenant at the Chick-fil-A, that's defined, and they're
Yes.
good with that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the picture in the packet, does that represent the 32 square feet, or is that the sign?
Reasonably well.
Okay.
The fact that in their description they identify 24-inch tall letters, which is the same maximum height as allowed on the Century development to the north. They end up with something that's 16 to 18 feet in length, which is pretty close to what they've illustrated.
Okay, is there a motion?
Let's see.
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve, contingent upon approval of the new dimensional elevations, DELC 0804 982001.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention passes. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you all.
Okay, the one I was anxious to get to, DELC 07489980002, 2565 Genesee Street, Delafield, owner St. Michael's Anglican Church, applicant Fast Signs of Waukesha. Applicant seeks preliminary feedback regarding an amended conditional use permit and a site plan to accommodate a new monument sign and schedule a public hearing. Is the applicant here? Uh-oh. This one we've never seen before. I'm not too anxious about making any exceptions for this.
Negative.
No. No.
This is an application that came to us in October in expectation of being on the November agenda. However, they did not have their application completed before the deadline, so it was put off till this meeting. The purpose of this meeting was to consider this in a preliminary fashion because it is a conditional use, asking you as the Planning Commission to schedule a public hearing, which would be in January. Now that will take place, we can have that discussion in January and the public hearing in February.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it's in keeping with what we do.
Yep. Okay,
Snooze you lose.
so
no action.
no action.
And was there, just to confirm, there was no correspondence about them not being here, or recommendations or anything?
No, they
Okay.
were advised that they need to be here.
Okay.
Okay, 6D, DELC 0804 993 003 3030 Gulf Road, Delafield, owner J&S Real Estate Holdings LLC, applicant Tina Weisgerber. Applicant seeks preliminary feedback regarding an amended conditional use permit and architecture for a building addition at the Holiday Inn Express and schedule a public hearing. Is the applicant here? Come on up. could help us out with your names and addresses, and then we'll have Roger give us a little overview. And
Sure.
Go
Tina
from there.
Weisgerber, 1718 Nagawicka Road, Heartland, Wisconsin.
Hi, Chris Jackson, CJ Architects, 8204 Pine Bluff Court, Darien, Illinois, 60561.
Chris, could you repeat the street address one more time? 8204 what?
8204 Pine Bluff.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you.
Sure. It was at 7 p.m. coffee.
Roger?
This evening, this is for your consideration to schedule a public hearing for an amended conditional use. The Holiday Inn Express is in a planned development, therefore any changes to the specific implementation plan does require a public hearing and recommendation to council. Your action this evening will be to schedule a public hearing if you choose, or if there's additional information you'd require from the applicant, to ask them to please provide it. This is, in a sense, just a simple modification of the architecture. This is adding additional floor above the existing pool area. It does not increase the lot coverage ratio. It does not increase the demand. It does not increase the parking requirements. It does not increase anything I can think of, actually. It does not increase the intensity of use. Therefore, I would suggest to you that this is pretty straightforward. It's an architectural modification, conduct a public hearing, and give the applicant any input in regards to the architecture or any other questions you may have. The architecture, by the way, is in complete compatibility with the existing features, both colors and materials.
I don't have a problem with the architecture. I think it looks very nice, very clean looking. But I'd like to go to the color photos that shows the north side of the building. I did notice one thing, and I thought it needed a little cleanup. And that's where the dumpster is, because now it's that road that goes past. It is going to be, people will be seeing it more. And the dumpster, and there's a shed there and some other things that really stand out. And it looks like it blocks windows to perhaps a room or two. Because I see windows behind it. It looks like windows behind it. And I thought if you could move that, because I looked at the building, there's areas where it kind of bumps in, bumps out. And in some of those areas where it bumps in would be a perfect place to put something like that. You know, out of sight, out of way, you know, so people don't see it, because that really does not look good. Especially now that we have traffic that's going to be going back and forth in the road there. What's your thought?
Yeah. I mean, personally, I agree. We always ask to have that screened in any development that we do.
But if you look, it looks almost like it blocks some windows behind it. So I thought if you could put it somewhere where the building kind of goes in and there's no window there, because there's one area, I think, to the east where there's even a big shrub, and it kind of bumps in and there's nothing there but brick wall. That would be a perfect spot. It's kind of like, you know, hidden then. If you put a wall around it, you know, kind of hide it.
And there's a big area to keep the dumpster and stuff. Is there some reason why it's not in there?
I'm not sure what that secondary dumpster is in those photos, but there is a dumpster in that enclosure.
Yeah, there's one outside of it. There's some pallet, it looks like, and there's that gray building there is a shed. So it's...
Yeah, in that little shed, we just keep our lawnmower and a couple of
that's what it was.
maintenance type items, because we don't have any basement space at all in the building, so we needed somewhere to put just our landscaping.
That's why I'm saying if you kind of look to the east there of that top photo, you see where the building kind of goes in, and there's nothing there. There's no windows or anything. And you've got a couple of areas like that. I even seen one with a big shrub in the corner that would kind of conceal it if you would put the brick wall there and put things there. You could even do that with a couple of spots. Have one spot for your implements that you use to maintain the building, and another one for the dumpster to kind of get it out of the way so it looks much nicer. Because you have a nice looking building, you know, and I want people, when they drive by, to see that it looks very nice, very clean, you know. This is the place where I'd like to stay. You know. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah, I agree if it could be, but I can see there may be challenges with getting the truck in and out. How that truck accesses that dumpster, so
Yeah.
you do have to look at that.
Yeah, but
And
I
they
think.
do like to put it at the end of the parking stalls.
Right.
Instead of in the middle of parking
Well,
stalls.
you see, they've got these little bump-in areas, that
I
are just
see
brick
those,
walls,
yeah.
you know? So it'd be a good place
No,
to
I'm all
kind
for
of put
it
it.
if it can be done
Yeah.
better.
I think it should be looked
Looks like
into.
an eyesore right now.
And definitely could do that with an area to put all your lawnmowers and rakes and shovels and all that kind of stuff.
We can take a look at it.
Yeah.
I think the windows that you're seeing that you think are being covered up is the actual hallway.
Oh, could
It's
be.
not a guest room.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that would be a concern.
Right.
I know some of our vendors and some of our delivery people, it is a little bit of a bottleneck back there to get in and out smoothly, and now it really will be with, the road being extended into
Right.
Chick-fil-A. Even now during our renovation, we had to put all of our big containers on the other side, which we really didn't
Yeah.
want to do on the
Right.
highway side.
Right.
But it was the only way that the trucks could come in, back up, and then
Yeah.
put everything into the containers. So it's a little tricky back there, maneuvering back and forth.
And you can see the drive, how it's sort of,
Right.
with the turnaround, it's sort of, that it's tucked into a crevice there, and then, it's got a backup space for the garbage truck that doesn't need to occupy any parking spaces. And then, it's on the drive side to the new development, but it's not on the side facing the interstate, which is that's our pretty side.
Yeah.
But there is an exit door there. And so one of those bays is stairs, and then I do believe that first bay is like a maintenance mechanical room.
But I think that there's ways that you can work with it and kind of clean it up, you know, and make it look nicer. Because when I looked at it and I seen, okay, this is where the dumpsters are and what's the shed, and then I see pallets and it's like, oh no, you want to clean it up.
I don't know. I do know that there is a guest room phase going on right now with some of the things being switched out. So it's probably what we're seeing there, some debris or something that's left over from some vendor, like Tina was saying. But I agree. Maybe some paint or something can go, a long way too.
So you're saying that green dumpster that's not in the enclosure, that's temporary for some temporary purpose, it's not always there?
I don't know the
It
answer.
says recycle in the drawing.
Yeah, can we go back to that picture?
Sure.
I'm just looking. We had one extra dumpster delivered because we completely gutted the third floor now, so we needed to go somewhere, and then we had two big containers that are on the highway side.
Top photo there.
Yeah, the one that's standing out there is not standing out there on a regular basis.
Okay.
This one here is temporary.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It's the shed and then what's behind that fence that we use on a regular basis.
I think though, the shed, there's ways to work with that, I think, and like I suggested, just to kind of, otherwise it looks very cluttered,
We can try to move the shed into that little niche
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Or kind of conceal it with shrubbery or something.
Shrubs.
Yeah, yeah. Because now it's going to be more noticeable,
Okay.
Any questions about the addition?
So
That all
you're
looks
building
good?
straight up, you're ending the floor straight up and you're matching the roof lines, it looks like.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
The
Right above
fenestrations.
Yeah, nice.
the pool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Looks like maybe that should have been there before.
Yeah,
Well, they didn't hire me.
yeah.
And thanks for bringing up the dumpster that was on the off-ramp side, that it was starting to get to me, and right when
Okay.
I was about to say something, it was gone. So it was perfect timing.
Good, good.
But yeah, so I'm assuming you might need something similar when you're doing this. You're gonna be pulling a roof off and.
Yeah, there'll be.
Yeah,
there'll
shorter
be
the better,
yard-
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, large yard, 30, 40 yard dumpsters out there, temporarily.
Temporarily.
Okay, so since Plan Commission has requested to see some sort of resolution to this, and we have to have that in our hands before we can publish for the next public hearing. Next public hearing is January 20th. What are you doing tomorrow?
Christmas shop.
Yeah, what is the deadline to get on that agenda?
Well, it'll be on the agenda, but
Okay.
we have to have the requested information.
Yeah.
30 days prior to the meeting, which is Friday.
Which is Friday, okay.
So
All right.
Can you get to me via email a modified site plan that just demonstrates where you're going to relocate that shed and perhaps landscaping
Okay.
thrown at it?
Sure, yeah, I can do that by Friday.
Great, is there a motion?
Yeah, let's have a public hearing in January.
Okay.
Second.
Do you want it January 29th, our next plan commission?
January 20th?
Oh, I'm
20th.
sorry. The 20th is council meeting.
Correct.
Plan commission is 29th.
29.
Oh, you got
You
some.
can work Christmas.
You have
Yay.
longer now. You have
So the
longer.
motion's for getting this on the public hearing in Plan Commission meeting in January.
January.
So
29th.
29th.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll need stuff from you by the 20th.
Go ahead, 29th, you got it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, was there a second? Dave? Okay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great.
See you at the next meeting.
right.
Merry Christmas.
Likewise.
Okay, we'll go on to E, DELC 0798-003-612 Milwaukee Street, Delafield, owner applicant Pete Bethke. Applicant seeks approval of architectural improvements for Indigo Collective. Is the applicant here? Come on up, please. If you can help us out with your name and address, we'll get started.
Sure, Peter Buffy. Home address S27W32569 County Road G in Dashman.
Overview, Roger?
Sure. This is rather straightforward. This is an appearance request or appearance approval. This is the Opera House, which was until just recently St. Michael's Church. It is now Indigo Collective, which is a yoga studio. Why don't you explain to them what exactly?
Yeah, my wife can operate a yoga studio.
You speak in the mic, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yoga studio, do coffee, fresh juice.
The business plan of operation was previously approved. They are now here asking for your input in regards to changing the architectural character of the building. Currently, the building has horizontal siding, very residential look. What they'd like to do is replace that with vertical board and batten and change the overhangs of both the bay windows as well as the entrance to be a standing metal, standing seam roofed entryway. I think it's black and white, so it certainly conforms to our downtown standards in regards to colors. But in regards to architecture, it's a matter of aesthetics for your consideration.
I have a real hard problem with the aesthetics of this versus this.
Okay.
In the past, we've asked people to put something on their building to make it more aesthetically pleasing, and like brackets and that. Where this has the brackets, I think that the second story eyebrow above the window gives it a little bit more appeal, and it's kind of in keeping with some of the historic buildings downtown. I don't mind the change in the siding. I really don't like the change in the windows.
Okay.
I feel that even the brackets on this give it more appeal, and a better feel than something like this.
That actually goes back to some photos to the 70s.
Yeah.
And so, if we're going to be architecturally correct, it's more of a restoration than it is a modification.
But I think that aesthetically, this is more pleasing. I like the brackets on it. Like I say, I like the eyebrows above the windows. Middle awnings, standing seam awnings. I had a friend that had a porch with that, and she left her door open in the wintertime to go in the house, and when she came out, the snow was all in her car because it slid right off that roof.
So I'm familiar.
Yeah. So and I don't really care for the metal seam for downtown. It's not something. Do we have anything downtown that has even a metal seam roof or awnings to it?
I'm not aware of it. The closest thing we have to what's being proposed here is a recently approved Rob Miller Homes, which
Across the
was
street, yeah.
across the street. Had the same vertical board and batten, but they had an awning over the entrance, but it wasn't pitched. It was more of a brise-soleil, sort of sunscreen.
Right, I remember that. When I
flat, if that would be the preference.
Yeah.
I mean, needs some overhang over the door, in my opinion. It doesn't project into the street, so.
I kind of thought it would look nicer with like a cedar shake roof on it, because we have so many cedar shake roofs downtown, if you want to do awnings.
Over the doorway?
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be consistent with the rest of the roof, I mean,
Yeah,
I understand.
but that's kind of the feel for downtown, and people are going to see that, they're not going to look at the roof on the building. See, it's a true story. But I definitely don't really care for doing away with some of the brackets and the moldings and stuff.
Your preference would be some, I guess if we're trying to preserve the historic nature of the property, then.
Yeah, I'm going to need you to speak into that, Mike.
I guess I'm questioning if we're trying to preserve the nature of the property, what historic period are we trying to preserve it to?
Well, it's not so much the period as it is the style. I know what this building looked like 40 years ago.
Sure.
And it looks very nice now.
Well, that's what we're trying to get back to.
But this, to me, still, what it looks like now still looks more appealing.
So just for my clarification, the two lower windows, there's rectangles now. Are you leaving those, just the window itself? Are you replacing the windows or leaving the windows?
Yeah, that size is the same. They're not a thermal paint on, so there's considerable condensation.
Okay, so you're going to upgrade the windows there. Okay, and then obviously the one in the center above the door, that is a new window because it has a different...
on the second floor.
On the second floor is a new window. And then the doors would be new also? So basically you're modernizing the weatherability and the efficiency of the windows.
Correct.
I kind of would like to see the brackets stay in the eyebrow window for the top second floor window stay, would be my...
Okay.
I think it's a matter of personal taste, frankly.
It is.
I'm going to go, looking at the windows, they've always struck me as rather modern, like something that was
this is
here and gone. And so I was going to add, my big question was, I know the Hawkson Historical Society, their History Center has photographs of all the old buildings.
Yeah.
How old is it? When was this building built? Do you know?
1920 is.
I was going to say.
Turn of the century.
So I bet those arched windows weren't there.
Well, I know they're.
Yeah, they didn't have that technology.
And so, you know, and
at least on that
is the steeple going, or is that staying on the?
Well, it has some deterioration, and actually it's not illustrated there, but our intent is not to remove it at this point until its condition is such that it has to be removed.
Okay, that's more of a, curiosity. I mean, it's your building, but yeah, the style. It'd be cool if you could do whatever it took to restore it, responsibly. But I hate to completely not agree.
Go ahead.
But I think you're combining some kind of current elements and getting rid of some old current elements, if that makes sense. There's some trendy things that were out there back when this was updated to the way it looks now, and to me, like I said, it always looked a little bit peculiar, and knowing that you're at least referencing older drawings is a positive, and I kind of like it. So I mean, and I don't know how much our opinion's supposed to weigh in, but I think it's appropriate. So I think it's more of a taste thing. I don't know that they had that big of a pane, those big square windows back in the day.
Right.
But I know they didn't have those eyebrow windows back then, so you're getting somewhere in between. So.
Actually, they did.
So do we get a motion or more comments?
No, I think what you're doing here is bringing it back more to an older look, which, it's the historical element in that regard. So I mean, I think you're on the right direction that way.
And I don't know how those brackets go with board and batten siding. I think they look good with lap siding, but I don't know how they're going to look.
Well, a lot
Those
of,
were not part of the original building?
I believe so, no, not that. From
a
what
lot of the
Paul
Lang
said.
buildings don't have them.
Well, the front, the windows to the right of the front door
No,
were
go to the
flush
pictures.
with the structure, so at some point,
Oh,
someone pushed those
bumped them out.
The one I was at.
Bumped them out.
Yes,
Talk about the
That's
Italian.
And there actually was a
Yeah, the
picture
Italian
of the front door.
Oh.
And I have photos of it from.
He's removing those, right?
75.
Yeah.
Would you mind passing that around?
Yeah.
yeah.
The awning that, I think I've got one copy of the awning that we're proposing actually gets back to that.
So there it is, our, there.
Yep, that's there. And so are the brackets.
So look at the flat.
And so
It's
are
the
the
front though.
brackets. Yeah, this, I don't mind awnings, it's just that I don't like the metal seam. See, it's there, and so are the brackets.
But this is 1970?
I believe it's 1975, there might be a date stamped on it.
Yes, it looks like 75.
Yeah, so who
brackets
knows what it
were
was in
there.
1920?
Well,
Yeah,
in
there's-
20 though,
there's
they had a
photos
lot
I
of
can-
these, because I've been going, I go to all these old
Right.
houses,
In your-
and even the Lang buildings have a lot of the brackets. This is just a mold, is
Alternate
what this
to
is.
how you,
Because you can kind of tell. It is a little bit rounded, but the molding is what really sets it off.
Over the front door?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
Dave, do you have your mic?
Yep. There we go. Okay.
We're close. So, in those photos, I don't recall how they're illustrated from 1975. In the rendering that we have, we've got a diagonal support underneath. Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Now, I think you were going to put awnings over the windows also and the doorway?
Well, right now, there's the
that's
protrusion
just-
side
that's
of the
just
building,
big
so there's
brackets.
a need to put some sort of water.
This is the
shed.
75
Yeah,
one.
but I'm just asking, so all the way across it's going to have it.
As illustrated, so the eyebrow, if we go to the photo.
Three separate awnings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
So the curved shingle roof right now, which is asphalt over the windows, is an eyebrow, is replaced with metal, so it's consistent with the proposal over the front door.
Did you see it?
Oh,
There's the
Opera Church?
brackets. There's the eyebrow.
that was an opera house. Yeah.
All right, somebody going to make a motion here?
So, okay, so. Hang on. Roger, what were your thoughts? I think you said them, but where are you at on this? I mean, and they're in the recommendation for approval is what is all it said here.
Yeah, I would-
But what is your thought on the steel seam roof? I mean, you mentioned that there's another one approved. What, as far as architecturally appropriate?
I don't think it's inappropriate, I should say.
And what color is it
It's
proposed?
black. It's proposed to be black. I don't think it's inappropriate. It kind of brings a little bit of modernization to it, along with what will be new windows, which will be aluminum
clad.
face,
Yeah.
aluminum clad. I think the character of the board and batten siding kind of overrides any modernization of some of the other smaller details. I think as a whole, it looks very appropriate for the downtown, and I think more historical than the architectural character that it exhibits currently.
Yes, so, I mean, I'll make a motion to approve the Indigo Collection architectural improvements as presented.
Is there a second?
You know,
Okay,
and
now
I'll just-
discussion on the motion.
Well, I'll just supplement it by saying, it's different. I think what we have is an amalgam of eras in what we're looking at, and it changes it. I'm enthused that somebody's investing money into a building and bringing it up, and I mean, it's, whether they stay there for 5 years, 20 years, or 30 years, or whatever, they're going to leave it as a better building, and I'm all for it.
I'm fine with the architectural changes that they have here. I mean, if it was my building, I might tweak it a little bit differently, but there's nothing here that jumps out at me and says that this is inappropriate for the area that it's in. All right, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstentions? Passes. Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, 7A, discussion and possible action regarding zoning text amendment to repeal and recreate portions of 17.24 definitions and 17.14 parentheses 5, setback and yard requirements regarding fence style, location, and processing, and scheduling a public hearing. Roger, or?
I'll share this one with Scott.
Well, go ahead, just summarize it. I mean, basically, I felt the need to clean up our fence ordinance. To me, it wasn't clear. It wasn't clear where the fences were allowed and what types of fences were permitted, and the height wasn't clear. So I felt the need for us to visit this.
So in preparation of that, this is the first time the Plan Commission has seen it. We welcome your input. Our recommendations are illustrated in color. Those being in red are proposed to be stricken from the existing ordinance. We will repeal and recreate this ordinance. Those that are highlighted in yellow are the additions. There are just a couple typos that were brought to my attention. On the first page under number 3, decorative fences do not include, that should say, any wire systems other than a cyclone fence. And the other item is under D, privacy or patio fences, a fence designed to provide privacy for a patio, not over 6 feet high. We want to insert above grade. Scott has actually encountered one instance where a 6-foot high fence was suspended 2 feet off the ground. So we want to identify that it's based on the grade.
Put it around the second floor of your building, right?
Pretty much. But other than that, there's also recommendation for changing the actual definition. I don't think we want to have vegetation defined as a fence. So there's a new definition of fence that's identified under section 2 on the second page.
So question, the 6 feet high, that would also be like if you're stepping a fence along an incline.
Yeah, so it would have to do with the grade.
It'd be a little bit of a judgment call on whether you're 6'1" as you step down, and then 5'11" when you pick it up, and you know what I mean. But that would be reasonable to the grade. I mean, we're avoiding like a big corner cutout where the fence rises like 7 feet above grade, and then you've got like some chicken wire or something covered on the bottom.
Correct.
Okay, so it'd be kind of a site call. Okay, so aside from that, what kind of fence that's a conundrum now gets clarified to the point where it's an easy call?
The decorative chicken wire fence.
Okay. Very good. Okay.
Decorative.
So if someone just puts something up to stop animals, and all of a sudden it's just not, it's just, yeah. Okay.
Or a simple three-strand barbed wire fence.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, those can start out with good intentions and then turn into eyesores and complaints. Okay.
How does that work if I want to fence in a very large area of my backyard for my Doberman? And I need the fence higher than 4 feet.
So there are 3 types of fences. Not more than 4 feet above grade and 50% open. Install it anywhere on your property without a permit. That's the first fence.
Right.
The second fence is, let's say, a privacy fence. So something not more than 6 feet high, in the rear yard only, not in the setback area. Yeah. Come to me and I can issue a permit. That's the second type of fence. The third type of fence comes here. If you want to be closer to the property line, maybe a fence not in the rear yard, maybe in the side yard, or if it's taller, you're going to come here.
Okay.
If it doesn't follow the rules as lined out here, it comes here. So we'll get all the oddities.
So it's not that you can't, it's that maybe I just can't issue the permit. You're going to have to come here and convince Plan Commission that it's appropriate.
Pay a $250 fee to come here.
Well,
and does this mirror some?
$150. I'm sorry, I misspoke. $150 fee to come here.
Might be cheaper to get a poodle.
I'm just really
go at 4 feet.
I like the big dogs.
I do too.
I'm just concerned because I have neighbors too who have one particular across the street from me who has dogs. She trains dogs that find people, cadaver dogs and stuff. And she has a huge area in her backyard that's fenced in, but it doesn't encroach on a neighbor or anything like that. It's within the setback, but it's a large area, and it's a cyclone fence, and it comes up to about here on me. So, which I like, I appreciate very much. I don't want dogs running around the neighborhood. So that was my concern.
The existing fence code defines setback area as it pertains and uses the term setback. Yet elsewhere in our code, we define setback differently. So we want to get rid of that. It's going to be in the allowable buildable area. So it has to respect, I'll call them setbacks, side setback, rear setbacks, that the house would have to comply with, or you're coming here for permission.
That's solid.
So
I think it makes it cleaner. I think it makes him able to approve fences easier without having to come here.
Yeah.
But when they don't comply, they're going to come here.
No, I'm glad Scott clarified it because it's nice for the people watching out there to understand fences.
Yep.
So this being the first time Plan Commission has seen this, I would welcome any of your input. Feel free to email anything to me if you'd like to see some changes. In order for us to proceed, though, I would ask Plan Commission to schedule a public hearing. We can publish that for the January meeting, and then it would be, if approved, recommended to council in February.
I have a quick question on section 5D2. You mentioned allowable building area a second ago. Is that what we want to word, allowable building, principal building location?
We want allowable principal building location.
Okay. And then,
in other words, it has to respect the building setbacks.
Okay. And then unless, I think there's an extra and in there, unless N exception in there at the end of that sentence.
You know, that's from the original text. I'll bet that's been that way for 40 years.
Yes.
And by cyclone, is that chain link? Do we want to put cyclone / chain link? Or?
The reason I use cyclone is because it appears elsewhere in the code.
Okay, then let's keep it, yeah.
Does cyclone mean chain link?
Some people question it, but I think they're the same.
It's like Kleenex and tissue, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I think they're the same.
Kleenex and puffs.
We don't have cyclones up here.
Right, is there a motion?
Need a motion to go ahead with scheduling public hearing for the fence,
For January 29th
January 29th
of 2020.
of 2020?
Yes. Very good.
Is there a second?
Jim.
Jim? All right. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Okay, 7B, discussion possible action regarding amendment to zoning code text language to codify multiple residential district building height limitation, 17.39, parentheses 2, through 17.39, parentheses 30, to be consistent with the new building height definitions and recommend to Common Council of the same.
This is an ordinance that we had before the Planning Commission last month. Scott and I had some differences. We've worked them out and jointly recommend to you that this is the ultimate solution for determining heights. Since in our newly defined building height description, we identify the top plate when it comes to residential. In order to respect that top plate height, we wanted to add some additional information, eliminating some of the descriptions for averaging and identifying a maximum height. So in many instances, just take the first one here, residence is 25 feet. At 25 feet, that's pretty close to 2 stories measured to the top plate. Then if you're averaging, you get the difference between the eave and the peak for your height, which would be 35, with a maximum amount of 45 feet for any part of the roof peak. Applying that same methodology through all of the different zoning districts, we come up with something that's very predictable and pretty much uniform throughout the entirety of the code.
The first number would really apply to a flat roof. So when we had a raw building height of X, 35 or 45 feet, it's one thing if that's to the ridge, but what if it to the top plate, and it's a flat roof. And it might be okay in a commercial district, at least it comes to plan commission, and you can deem it appropriate or not. But when they come to me for a building permit for a house, if they meet this, I have to issue. It doesn't, there's no additional review. So I was worried it might be too restrictive, and when I thought about it the next day, last month, we could have like a 70-foot residential building, because we limited the top plate, but not the height of the roof system. Then you include a walkout basement, I'm telling you, you can hit 70 feet, 75 feet, no problem. And we don't, I think that's not appropriate.
Agreed.
Yeah. I think our best efforts in defining it added more language to this code, but it made it clearer, if that at all helps. It usually doesn't. It seems to have helped here. So yeah, I'm all good with this.
I think it looks good.
Yeah, I think you've got a maximum at the end.
Correct.
That's the end game that we need.
Yeah.
We've got the typo with the homonym here for peak. We got the
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Thought it sounded a little
So
interesting.
What's with
Peak
the
height?
peak? What's with the peak?
Roger likes peekaboo.
Is this some sort of new gable, a peekaboo gable?
So we're gonna.
He's heard
I
a
think
lot
that's part of the recommendation,
Something
right?
about you didn't know?
No, I'm completely transparent with everything.
There you go.
Peekaboo.
Yeah, neighbors beware.
Merry Christmas.
Alrighty, so do we have a motion?
Where are we?
The motion would be to conduct a public hearing and pass it on to council in January.
Was not a public hearing?
No.
No, this is just approving.
Right to council.
Oh, we already had, I'm sorry, we had a public hearing last month.
So I'll make the motion to approve and send it on to council.
With the spelling corrections?
Yes, with spelling corrections,
They already got
please.
it. They already
Second.
I already
Second.
told him about it.
Dave seconds. Okay. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah,
Abstentions?
thanks for your work on that.
Yeah,
Passes.
I really cleaned it up. Looks nice.
I think that is the end. Correct, gentlemen?
Of the height ordinance?
So
Till
ask us to look
2025. Yeah, till 2025.
Till the next big development comes in
Yeah,
and points out problems with what we did.
yeah, right.
Okay, 8A, clerk, planning commission meeting dates and deadlines, meeting January 29th, 2020. Submittal deadline is January 14th, 2020. Public hearing submittal deadline is December 30th, 2019. I'll refer you to correspondence. Planners report?
There are two items, let me look at the agenda, what do we have? There are two items I put on here, the first of which is public hearing policy. The Mayor and I wanted to make sure that we have a clear understanding of your understanding of our public hearing policy. As our ordinance, as our code is written today, the only public hearings that are required for modification to existing conditional uses have to come for the Plan Commission to schedule a public hearing. All other public hearings can be scheduled by staff. Well, we've had some fluctuation in that policy as of late, and what we've learned is that there are some issues that I've been mistakenly advertising for a public hearing that should be coming to Plan Commission. And the best example of that was recently we did the ID restaurant with the veranda windows,
Yeah.
something that minor. They happen to be a conditional use. That should have come to the Plan Commission for scheduling of a public hearing before actually publishing the public hearing. So I think we have essentially three different options. Keep things the way they are and only come to the Plan Commission for scheduling of items that require it, which would be those existing conditional uses, or come to the Plan Commission for all public hearings to be scheduled, which is something we've been evolving towards. Or if you're finding all of this confusing, we could change the ordinance and just allow staff to schedule public hearings accordingly. But what would you like us to do? How would you like us to see this?
And before could you just repeat what the current code says?
Current code says that an existing conditional use that is requesting an amendment requires the Plan Commission to schedule a public hearing. That's the only obligation that the Plan Commission has in scheduling the public hearing. All other public hearings, staff has the ability to do that, which we're willing to give up if you are willing to have them come to every meeting. But what that does is that automatically incorporates an additional 30 days to any petition.
I think that's silly. I think it's silly to add the extra time, but I think it's absolutely necessary to have amending of a conditional use be something that goes through that cycle, because those are typically, at least 1 in 5 are pretty heavily negotiated and aired out with lots of public input. I think that extra time helps go vet it.
Right.
You know, so I think as is, if we can, even though the porch seemed minor, and it was, it is possibly, you know, one thing that was absolutely not when the conditional use was granted in the beginning. So I think the extra step is good for that purpose. And I'd hate to see the extra cycle be put in place for things that are truly trivial and can be satisfied with one meeting. I mean, that's my opinion.
I agree.
So the status quo?
Yeah.
So it's two-tier. I mean, there are two different types, is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
I agree.
And actually, I think the coming to Plan Commission for an amendment to a conditional use is a vestige of when the ordinance used to be written that the Plan Commission would determine if it was a minor versus a major change.
Right.
Which
Yeah, we are not going there.
No.
We got away from that.
Remember that.
That's too subjective. So this is pretty cut and dry, and half the time it's going to be an extra step when they don't need it, but I think it's appropriate.
Okay, good. Glad I asked the question. The other item on there is just an update for the.
Sure.
I've got 5 kids at home under 15, and we were here to try to get our sign approved. Steve Young, Preston Capital, was that on the?
Oh, that Preston Capital is approved as part of the
Consent agenda.
You got
Consent agenda.
approval.
We could have left.
With the guy with the baby.
I wish we knew.
Yeah, that's why I said anybody on this consent agenda
We
is,
knew, otherwise, went right through it. I mean, this is fascinating, but we both like to get home.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so the agenda has you on there under the consent agenda, so.
Well, sorry about that.
Another idea, I guess in the future, you should tell who's been approved.
Typically we do. Typically
Yes.
we read off the consent agenda approvals.
But
It
you
was
didn't.
just overlooked tonight.
No, you didn't
You
read off
say-
each
What
business.
you said consent agenda.
You did read them all, so I would have.
Okay,
We
So
should.
you guys owe me 30 hours of billable time. 30 minutes.
okay,
What do you think?
yeah.
Try it.
Merry Christmas.
Try it.
Actually, happy Hanukkah.
And that too.
Out of this meeting,
He owes us.
Yeah.
cheap time on it, this was valuable.
No, I thought it was fascinating, but I'd still like to go.
Come again sometime.
All right, thanks, guys.
Okay.
An update on the
We didn't
Heartland
say the
Sportsman's Club.
individual businesses.
They have again requested an extension with the expectation they'll be coming back in January. This is entirely in Mr. Hamlis's court. He's had sent correspondence to them advising them if they don't submit some sort of response to the conditional use as it was drafted 2 months ago, that we will proceed without their involvement if they don't show up in January. So we'll see how that proceeds.
Sounds like we've done that before.
Yeah. And the one other thing that has evolved since issuance of the packet is that on Friday afternoon, we received a letter from Hendricks formally withdrawing their petition for the 705 building on Genesee Street. And that is because they are intending to give up on the residential portion, which is what initiated the necessity for conditional use. They're now resubmitting in the coming months for revised plans that are all commercial with office above.
For both buildings?
For both buildings, so we're starting with starting from scratch with a new application.
I knew that would happen.
That's it.
Okay. Building inspector?
I have nothing to add.
Wow.
Awesome.
Okay. Seeing no further business, we are now adjourned at 8 o'clock.